248-756-3939. That number again is 248-756-3939. Ask for Dennis with Blue Heron Pond. We are back. I am Pastor Richard Dietering. I am filling in for Gary today. He is out on family business. I am joined with Phil Stargell, my right hand when it comes to radio, and Pastor Max Schuster.
And I'm very, very proud to be here and glad to be here on the day after Veterans Day. I had the opportunity to talk to one of my favorite veterans, Kerry Benevolio, former congressman. Him and I talked for a few minutes yesterday, and I just called him because he's accessible, and
right.
He always has been. But I wanted to just talk to him because of the aftermath of the election.
Well, yeah. Well, the aftermath of the election, and I, as much as I was excited about the election, what I found is normally on Veterans Day, any other year, you see tributes to the veterans on television. You hear more about it on the radio. There's much more of an outreach to our veterans.
Yeah.
Well,
and
because of this election, it kind of got looked past.
This is a veteran that should have been showcased because he did serve in two wars, Vietnam War and the Gulf War, and he served the country in the Congress, And I think that if anybody should have been showcased on Veterans Day, it should have been Kerry Benevolio.
And you definitely put out the invitation for him to call in, right?
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Now, you had a song you heard and you wanted to share it. Were they able to find that?
Yeah, I don't know if
I'm going to look at him. He's ignoring me. So were you able to find that song he asked for? No, he was not. Okay, we are talking to Max Schuster, Korean vet. Now I want to get in a little bit more about the war in Korea. We talk about, being attacked every day for 2 months when he first gets there. He's one of the first people in. But, what a lot of people don't consider, they think of war as being clean and simple. And maybe they picture it like they see the old war movies of the Revolution where they just stand in front of each other on a great big open, smooth field and shoot at each other, and they think that's war. But the terrain isn't always that smooth or that great. I mean, we get a little hint of a terrain fighting when we think of the War of Gettysburg, which is with hills, but we really don't get in mind the concept of terrain issues in war. And Korea had its own special problems with the terrain. What kind of terrain did you face when you were in Korea?
Well, it was mostly mountains, and then the mountains got higher as you got farther north. And some of them were so high you could see clouds below you. And you couldn't dig in with your entrenching tool because it was solid rock up there, the higher you go. And we more or less had to fight with no foxholes. And it was ice cold because we got this Arctic weather from Manchuria that just poured down into Korea, and a lot of people got frozen feet, and one of our guys froze to death. We got up in the morning, and he was just a solid dead. And the remarkable thing is the Chinese were well clothed. They had padded clothes, but they had tennis shoes. And we had shoe packs and real good stuff for our feet. And our feet, a lot of them got, what do you call that? Frostbite. A lot of them got frostbite. And you just wonder what's happening to the Chinese when all they have is tennis shoes. And we could hear them crying at night and yelling and howling because they were in such pain.
Okay, now, so we're fighting in a mountainous terrain, and you were recounting a story earlier where you and your company are going up a side of a hill, making all sorts of noise, making a ton of noise going up the hill, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll set that picture up. Imagine all these soldiers moving up the side of a mountain and making a ton of noise, and I'll let you take it from there.
Well, this was printed in the newspaper. I don't know if it was the Detroit News or the Detroit Free Press. Can't remember now. But my mother cut it out, and put it in a scrapbook, and we were surrounded, and there were 219 of us, and we were trying to get out. And when we were going up these mountains, nobody could fall out. because if you fell out, you'd be POW. They were right behind. And so we had to keep going. We were totally exhausted. We were throwing away our weapons, I had a big gouge in my helmet, and I wanted to save that. I had to throw that away. Anything that would impede me, I threw away. But they dropped us some food, and they gave us where we thought that they were the weakest. And we went up that hill where they were supposedly the weakest, and we made all kinds of noise going up because it was steep. Mm-hmm. And we got to the top, and they had their shirts off. They were laying in the sun, and they were conked out. Their weapons were leaning against trees and everything. And I think it's because they were force marched, and they were exhausted, because they should have heard us. And had they heard us, I wouldn't be sitting here tonight. But we made an attack. We fixed bayonets and attacked them while they were unexpected.
Yeah, when you tell me the story, I get this picture of the Civil War with Colonel Chamberlain and running out of weapons.
Charge.
And so he tells me to fix bayonets and charge, and I'm getting this picture. Here you are. By all rights, they should have heard you coming. And you want to talk about the grace of God on this. And I have to agree with you, Pastor. I think really God was involved on this, because you get up here with making all this cumbersome noise of a bunch of men moving up the side of a hill. Mm-hmm. And there they are, and next thing you know, you're fixing bayonets and you're charging them.
God may have providentially put them to sleep. But we yelled what the Japanese did when World War II. We yelled banzai, tatsugiki, and all of those things when we charged, because we knew they'd understand that.
And what was the outcome of that battle?
The outcome is we got through them and down in a rice paddy. We took some casualties when we got in a rice paddy, because we're right there in a wide open, and when they recovered and started hitting us. But there were some truck drivers waiting for us across this big rice paddy, and they were as nervous as a service in the king, I'll tell you. They wanted to get out of there. They could hear all the shooting, and had we not got to those trucks on time, they'd have left us. But we got there in time, and we had several wounded and everything. But I had to help one South Korean. He was blood was just pouring out of him, and I thought he was going to faint. So I went over there and helped him. But we got out of there, and drivers of those trucks said, "You got here just in time, or we'd have been gone."
So you were earlier. We were talking about after a while Chinese came into it. Let's talk real quickly about the difference between the way the North Koreans dealt with prisoners and American soldiers and how the Chinese did. When you were talking about the violence of the North Koreans the first 2 months, and then when the Chinese came in, it got better, so to speak. Part of that had to do with how the Chinese treated prisoners, right?
Yeah, the Chinese were much more humane. In fact, the first few months after they entered the war, they even brought our wounded to us. Chinese carrying our wounded in litters. But the North Koreans, when they captured prisoners, they would tie them up with barbed wire instead of rope. And they would pour gasoline on them and burn them and everything else. I mean, they were terrible. They unloaded a train that was going north with prisoners, and they executed every one of them. But the Chinese would not allow, if there was a Chinese officer present, they would not allow the Koreans to abuse prisoners.
To our listeners out there, we are talking to Pastor Max Schuster. He was a veteran during the Korean War, and he's recounting some of the events he went through in Korea. We very often take Veterans Day lightly. We look at Veterans Day as a day to go out to the supermarket or to the mall and get a good deal on our clothes, and understand the reason you have stores that you can go in and get good deals on and get those Veterans Day sales is, not just because we're celebrating the veterans and we have Veterans Days, but because those veterans fought for our rights, for our freedoms, for our ability to be entrepreneurs and open businesses and offer services, all these freedoms that we take for granted without actually acknowledging the men and women who actually put their lives on the line to bring them those freedoms to us. And I actually was very, very discouraged over this since Veterans Day myself. That very little was done to recognize the veterans. I mean, even on the conservative stations and stuff like that, little blurbs, but not a whole lot of just saying thank you to the soldiers. Now, you spent time in Korea also, Phil, right?
Yes. Yes.
And now you were after the Korean War.
Yep, went over in 1964.
And now, were you up by the demilitarized zone, so to speak?
Yeah, about 20 miles from it.
And what did you do at Korea? Now, you were part of, I'd say, the peacekeeping force afterwards, the after effect force?
Yeah, I was Signal Corps.
A Signal Corps?
Yeah, did, the communications. And later on, did a little bit of medics. So...
I got to ask Derek real quick here. Do we have a phone call? Okay. Mike again? Or do we have a different...
Yes, sir. This is a different mic.
Oh, it's a different mic. I'm sorry. Mike, I kept on talking here. There's a mic here called earlier, and I thought that was the old message there. So I was ignoring it, but I seen the flashing light, and I thought maybe I need to ask. So, Mike, you're a veteran. What branch?
Army Infantry, 24th Infantry Division.
Thank you very much for your service to this country. And
absolutely.
What would you like to add to this conversation?
Well, I just wanted to call in. I enjoy your show on a weekly basis, and I really enjoy these gentlemen that you got with you today. My father was a Korean War vet, and I'm just going to make this quick so you can get back with your stories. I work at the VA hospital here in Ann Arbor. I live in Ipsy, and I work at the hospital here in Ann Arbor. And I got to tell you, all the things that you hear about the VA hospitals throughout the country, our hospital here is absolutely amazing. If anybody's got the chance to go there. It's spot on. We're always voted within the top 5 hospitals, VA hospitals in the country, and it's just a real honor to work there around your fellow vets.
Mike, don't go anywhere. Don't hang up yet, because I want to talk to you about this. I do know people that use the Ann Arbor VA hospital. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, the difference between the VA hospital in Ann Arbor today compared to where it was 10 years ago is night and day.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I knew somebody 10, 15 years ago going there, and I remember going in there saying, boy, something needs to be done. I've gone in there recently with a friend of mine who is a veteran, and he went in to get some care. And the difference between the hospital and Ann Arbor is night and day. But let me ask you a question. What do you think overall, nationwide, Mike, since you work for the VA, and you may want to not answer this, that'll be up to you. How do you think the care overall throughout the country has been towards the VAs over the last 8 years?
Honestly, I really couldn't speculate on that. The hospital here is the only one that I've ever been to. I haven't gone to the Detroit branch. This is the only hospital. So I'm really surprised when I hear people talk about the lack of care at other hospitals. But on the same hand, I get it. I understand it. No matter where you go, you're always going to have knuckleheads and people that are bad at their job. I don't, with this hospital, I would say a lot of it is the employees. I work with a lot of veterans, and we love our vets. We love our patients. Those are my guys when they come in, and we love what we do. The director's been hands-on, as far as I know, and just we've always got something going on. And I'll tell you something else that makes our hospital just incredible. The amount of volunteers that come in and contribute their time, from the people that go around playing harp, the harp in different rooms, the people that bring their animals in for pet therapy. It goes on and on and on. We've had the basketball and the football team from U of M come there. Coach Beeline was unbelievable when he came in there. I don't know. It goes, from top to bottom. I can only speak for the Ann Arbor system, but from top to bottom, you've got some amazing people that